Welcome to the Music Is My Life podcast from Berklee Online. I'm your host, Pat Healy, and today's guest has written songs for Dolly Parton, Reba McEntire, Michael Jackson, and most notably, his late wife, Donna Summer. I'm talking with Bruce Sudano, the award-winning songwriter who penned one of Summer's biggest hits, Bad Girls. You know the one. Toot Toot. Beep Beep, among numerous other songs. Sudano grew up in Brooklyn, New York, and started out his music career in the band Alive and Kickin', eventually forming Brooklyn Dreams in 1977 with Joe Bean Esposito, who you may know from the Karate Kid theme song, You're the Best Around. So in that same year that he formed Brooklyn Dreams in 1977, he met Donna and the sparks flew and led to 30 plus years of marriage and musical collaboration, and 2 kids, who also work in entertainment. You may know Brooklyn Sudano as Vanessa from the ABC sitcom My Wife and Kids from a while back, and you may know Amanda Sudano as one half of the musical act JohnnySwim. Sadly, Donna passed away in 2012, but with her encouragement, Bruce Sudano had begun working on his solo career again, and last month he released his new EP, Ode to a Nightingale. But it all began for the songwriter who wrote one of disco's most fiery hits with an accordion. Let's let him tell you all about it.
9 years old, there used to be shows at the Brooklyn Fox and the Brooklyn Paramount. Alan Freed and Murray the K would put on these rock and roll shows with, numerous acts, vocal groups. Killer band, Bernard Purdy on drums, King Curtis on sax, it was just a spectacle, and that's where it began. And somehow along the way, I became aware of the 2 little names under the title of the song in parentheses on the 45s and realized that songwriting. And so I began, I was a kid that would be writing poems in school even before this. And so it was kind of a confluence of different inspirations. But
when did you pick up, I don't know, did you first sit down at a piano or pick up the guitar?
Story goes, my Italian grandfather went back to Italy to visit family, came back with an accordion for me, and I was 4 years old. And they sat this thing in my lap, teacher once a week. I did that for 4 years. And then when I was 12, I picked it back up again because I got a gig.
What was the first gig?
I'm not sure if it was a bar mitzvah or a sweet 16, but the lineup was a trumpet, a guitar, and an accordion.
So what are we talking for repertoire here?
I have no really idea. I don't remember, it was pre-Beatles, and, so we were probably doing tunes from the late 40s and early 50s, like my father's kind of songs or something,
So when did you first get to the phase where you're starting to create things where your name would be in parentheses below the title?
Soon after that, writing songs in school, started putting bands together, started writing songs for my bands. Then I got lucky in 1968, met Tommy James. My band was alive and kicking at the time. We were the house band at a club in Manhattan called Cheetah. It was on 52nd Street and 8th Avenue. Somehow Tommy heard about the band, came to see us. I would start going on breaks. He lived around the corner. On breaks, I would go around the corner to his apartment and just try to sit with him and glom as much as I could, and somehow found my name onto one of those in the parentheses of a song of a record for him called Ball of Fire, which was a top 10 record in 1969. And that was my introduction to that.
So Morris Levy didn't try to steal that one?
Well, Morris had the publishing, at the time, the big thing of that whole situation was Morris hooked me up with BMI, and BMI gave me a $1,500 advance at the time to sign, and that was more money than I had ever seen in my life. And so Morris did do that for me. I earned on the radio BMI songwriter side of things, just not the publishing side of things.
It's interesting though. I mean, I guess I say Morris didn't steal that kind of in a teasing way, just because his reputation precedes him as somebody who wasn't always looking out for the artist's best interest.
I had an interesting relationship with him because I was 19 years old. I was on fire. I was super confident and also super naive. So I would just go into his office and say, we need money, and he periodically, would write me a check for another 1,500 or another 1,000, and people would think that I was crazy because I would just go up and do this. But I although I came from Brooklyn and was well aware of all the I had many mob club owners back in the day. So it wasn't that I was naive to what it was and what that meant. But I always felt that if I dealt straight up with whoever it was, they would respond back, in a straight way. And that's how Morris treated it. He was like, okay, yeah, you do have a big hit record and here, So
what was the name of that first band when you were 19?
It was Alive and Kicking.
Oh, that was Alive and Kicking. Okay. And then how long until Brooklyn Dreams?
Brooklyn Dreams was 7 years later. By that time, I had moved out to LA. Joe Bean Esposito and Eddie Hoganson, my partners in Brooklyn Dreams, we all went out there, within a month of Joe and Eddie went together, and I think I came out a month later. And so there again, it just became, we didn't go out there with the intention of being Brooklyn Dreams. We were just, we were all pursuing solo careers. And we had a friend at Casablanca Records who was the head of publicity, another girl from Brooklyn whose name was Susan Mineo. She said, why don't you guys put something together? And I had a bunch of songs that I had written that I was out there with. And we got a record deal and made the first Brooklyn Dreams album, in 1977.
Wow. And is that when you met Donna Summer? It sounds weird to say Donna Summer because this is your wife for so many years, but I also never knew her personally. I'm in Boston, but so I can't just, I feel weird saying Donna, but is that when you two first met?
Yeah, we met in March of 1977 at Susan Mineo's apartment in Beverly Hills.
And was there chemistry right away?
There was chemistry right away. Joe, Eddie, and myself and Donna right that day sat down at the kitchen table and started writing songs together. And we immediately all just hit it off and had a really good run together.
You mentioned where the chemistry started, the sparks started flying creatively. At what point did you and Donna start the romantic chemistry? When did those sparks fly?
Okay, pretty immediately. She had a boyfriend, I had a girlfriend. It was a little complicated. We were both kind of fiery, strong, independent people. So, but it was pretty immediate, and we got married in 1980. So we worked our way through to our marriage, and then we were married for 32 plus years.
What was the scene like with everything that Giorgio Moroder was doing over there at Casablanca, and such a singular sound, such a vision?
Yeah, well, Giorgio and Donna were recording in Germany, because that's where they were from. That's where they were living. It wasn't until I think the first time that I went in the studio with Giorgio was for the I Remember Yesterday album, and Brooklyn Dreams sang background on that particular song I Remember Yesterday. And I think that must have been the first time that I met Giorgio or was in the studio with him. There's a possibility that I did meet him before during the recording of the Once Upon a Time album. I don't know how that lines up time-wise. I think it was probably before, because I remember being in the studio while Donna was recording that record. So,
right. And then came Bad Girls, and not only do you have a co-writing credit, but you're the cop on the cover of the album.
we were, in the days before, you had a posse, we were kind of a posse. Donna was very, she incorporated everybody, and she included everybody in her, she had been living in Germany for 8 years and had just come back to the States and was in a place in Los Angeles that she wasn't unfamiliar with. And right as she got there, we all met. And so how I became the cop on the Bad Girls, it's all, whenever anything like this happens, it's really a whole chemistry of elements that come together. The song Bad Girls itself, was just part of a whole, we used to go in the studio at night and jam. We would just set up microphones. I'd be on an acoustic guitar. Joe would be on an acoustic guitar. Eddie be on a conga drum, and Donna would be at a mic, and we would all just groove and run a 2-track machine. And so on one of these nights, we hit this Bad Girls thing. Didn't think any more of it or less of it than anything else that we had been running through. And the second engineer a while later was going through these tapes to transcribe them and said, "Hey man, there's this Bad Girls thing," and then we went back and looked at it, and yeah, good. And we worked on it some more. And then Donna brought it to Neil Bogart at Casablanca Records. And as the story goes, he wanted to give it to Cher. Donna said, "No way." We went in and recorded another demo of it before we even brought it to Giorgio. Then Donna brought that demo to Giorgio and said, I want to cut the song, and kind of gave the blueprint, and he just pumped it up from there. With the last element being Donna getting it back and going, there's something missing. And then she came up with Toot Toot Beep Beep, and the rest is disco, rock and roll, R&B, pop song history.
Yeah, I just love thinking about the genesis of a song like that with acoustic guitars. At what point did it become the disco anthem that we know now? It
was probably about a year later. When in my shows now, I do a version of Bad Girls acoustically, just to demonstrate how it was written. And it's really interesting because, I play these clubs and I'm kind of like ensconced in kind of a, folk song, Americana, singer-songwriter world that I'm always in, and a lot of this audience is music purists, and sometimes I can almost feel like the disco hangover vibe that and so when I play, the acoustic version of Bad Girls, and they get, the message of the song and the bluesiness of the song and the honesty of the song, it just like plays a head game with them. And I'm a big believer in that, you write a great song and it can be translated many different ways, and it can be dressed up in many different styles. And that's why, the root of everything is the song.
But I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you, when you do Bad Girls live, do you have a whistle with you?
No. Yeah, it's you see them out on the street at night, picking up all kinds of strangers if the price is right. You can't score because your pocket's tight, but you want a good time. Anyway.
That's so cool to hear. Just stripped and totally different, but no less great. That's terrific.
Yeah, that's how it happened.
After Brooklyn Dreams disbands and everyone kind of goes their separate ways, and I was always a huge fan of Joe's song from The Karate Kid.
You're
so good. Yes. But you started, getting your name in more parentheses under song titles, and you talk about how a song should live through different genres, and I love that you wrote for both R&B and country artists. And I guess if you could speak to what that process is like when you write a song and an artist translates it entirely differently, or were Dolly and Reba's interpretations faithful to your original?
Yeah, I mean, in terms faithful to the original, in that it was the chords structure was the same, and the lyrics were the same, and the melody was the same, and tempo was basically the same. So yeah, I would say it was pretty true, and it was dressed up in the style. It was kind of like a hybrid country thing. I think they were trying to cross it over pop, so it was a little more cheesily produced in a way, but well produced. I mean, I love Dolly's version and Reba's version. It's always a treat. It's almost a cliche to say as a songwriter, but it's always a thrill when somebody interprets your song and you get to see what they would do with it and what they bring to it. Because I've been fortunate to have great people. In many cases, many greats sing things that I've written, and a great singer will always, just bring it in terms of conveying the message of the song. I try to write songs with, meaning and so when you have a great singer who not only has beautiful tone and, they can translate and interpret the lyric that you create, it's great. It's greatness adding to what you hope is great, so.
Now, at what point did you start managing Donna?
Well, I don't know if Donna was managing me or I was managing her, but I don't know. It was kind of like an on and off kind of situation. It wasn't like, okay, you'll be my manager and you'll manage me. It was kind of, we just lived life together, and we made decisions together. And sometimes the decision was, you know what? Why don't you just handle this right now? I don't need to have a manager right now. And then we just rolled along. It was intermittent in terms of when I was actually managing her. I've never even I don't even know how you know that, because I don't think I've ever spoke about managing Donna.
That's funny. I don't know how I know it either. I just remember reading it somewhere.
I don't think anybody's ever asked me that.
What I'm interested in, and what I imagine our listeners would also be interested in is how to successfully transition from being a figurehead for one genre in one era to the next phase. You watch that Bee Gees documentary and they talk about the disco backlash, and Donna seemed to kind of ride above that. I mean, what was that a challenge career-wise?
In a way, but as an artist, you never want to stay stagnant anyway. So Donna was always trying to push the envelope and view things in terms of where's it going and what's next and what's inspiring me. And again, the disco thing was the disco thing. The thing was, let's write great songs. And many of the songs that we wrote together, we would always do them as a ballad, just as part of our attempt to make sure that melodically and lyrically we were, so you slow it down and really microscope it a little bit. We did that frequently with songs, even if they were up-tempo songs. And the recording studio is a tool as well, and you get in there and you experiment and you see what you come up with, and you listen to what other people are doing, and you say, oh, that's great. How would I interpret that? And you can't get, as an artist, you don't want to get bogged down into what people are saying, what people are thinking, what's a backlash, what's not so black. That tends to confuse, distract. So, you learn to put up walls so that you don't focus on that stuff. We wouldn't read reviews. We just found it to be counterproductive, because you can get in your head about shit.
You must have, on some level, been aware of the disco backlash and those.
Of course. I mean, because on a practical side of things, radio stations aren't picking up your song. They're not playing. They don't want to. Why? Oh, because it's disco. It's all a cliche, because then, as the artist, you're stuck with whatever the title is, and then if you do try to do something different, it's all a process, and it's a roller coaster, as all of life is.
Somehow, somewhere along the line, you two managed to start a family, and both your daughters together are in showbiz, and I love that you've even collaborated with your daughter Amanda with JohnnySwim. What's that like, as far as when you were raising your kids? Did you encourage them to go into show business? Or, I mean, you've seen it all. So I'd imagine there's a lot of ugliness you'd want to protect them from.
Our only directions for our kids was, follow your dreams and try to be who you think you're called to be. The fact that Brooklyn and Amanda are somehow involved in the show world, that's fine. I mean, everything's a risk in life, and you could open a grocery store and it could work or not work. The thing is they came with us, they were on the road with us. It wasn't like we shielded them from what we were doing. We wanted them to understand what we did, why we did it, how we enjoyed it, see us make mistakes. And it doesn't, at the same time, it doesn't surprise me that Brooklyn is an actress or that Amanda is a singer, and it thrills me to see JohnnySwim and how they live their lives, because they've just taken me and Donna and what we've done, and they've just, rolled with it and ridden it into 2021.
Eventually you start doing your own albums under your own name. So not all of your stuff though is on streaming. What's the wedding song? The song for my daughter. It's her wedding day.
Oh yeah, I think they've been having a hard time figuring out what happened to that record and where it is, and But yeah, it's her wedding day. Yeah.
You keep doing music and you stay in the industry, and you did 3 EPs during the pandemic.
The thing is that I continue to be inspired. I continue to live life, and I continue to think and feel. And my way to manage my thoughts and feelings is through writing a song about it. So that's where I feel, I still have purpose. I still have something to say. I continue to grow. I continue to refine what I do. I continue to, I basically had to restart my career in a way. This version of me, I started in, 2013, right after, Donna passed away. And up until that point, I had never performed live solo. I mean, I have a lifetime of being on stage, but it was never just me and a guitar. So that was challenging, and that's an ongoing process. And it's fun and scary at the same time. And I think that's how I kind of live my life. And at the same time, I feel it's what I'm called to do. And that hasn't changed since the time that I'm a kid. So
she never got to see Bruce Sudano solo performer at all.
She got to see it a lot in the house because I was either playing the guitar or playing the piano. But Donna did say to me, because I did, the song "It's Her Wedding Day" was actually, on a record that came out before Donna passed away. So there came a time when Amanda went off to college where Donna came to me and she said, "Okay, it's your time to be you now. I want you to do you." And I was like, "But I always do me." And because once the kids are gone, there's a whole lot of space, that you have to refill again. So I put out a couple of records where there was no live component to it or anything. I just went in the studio, basically played all the instruments, and I had the advantage of having a studio and made a couple of records, Rainy Day Soul and Life in the Romantic. That charge to go be me happened from, initiated from Donna, and once she was gone, I just had to step it up and take it to the next level. And
when you are playing these gigs and you have your whole catalog to choose from, and you mentioned you do Bad Girls in a different version, but what song is it that you feel gives you the most joy when you're performing it out of all the songs that you've written?
That's a hard question to ask because it could change on a night-to-night basis. What brings me the most joy about performing live is that, like now, wrapped around singing songs, I get to tell my story. I get to communicate with people and who feed me information back, and I see them light up, and I see them feel an emotion in a song, and it's always fun to be on stage. It's challenging and exciting and exhilarating. It's like a life of jazz up there because you don't know what's going to happen, and my job is to just try and stay in the song and communicate the emotion and not be thrown by, somebody talking over there or the girl sitting over here or the guy at the back of the, stay here. And it encourages me and then I get to meet these people afterwards and they love music and they tell you this song moved them this way. And, so I think that's the joy of it.
That is indeed the joy of it. Bruce Sudano summing it up nicely. Be sure to check out his latest album, Ode to a Nightingale, which is out now. Want to talk about another joy of music? Well, Berklee Online is offering you the chance to take your first course for $100 off. Visit musicismylifepod.com to get started and register for the January 2022 semester. This episode was edited by Talia Smith, mastered by Jose David Vindesmora, all visual assets coordinated by Mike DeBenedictis, social media by Brooke Larson, web assistance courtesy of Mark Thomas, Steve Zimmerman, and Joe McDonough. Thanks to our video team who posts these episodes on YouTube 2 weeks after they premiere on podcast services. And you should subscribe to the Berklee Online YouTube channel, because if you do, you'll be the first to know about our upcoming interview video series 4-4. The first episode premieres soon with Lou Barlow. Also, please leave a review for the Music is My Life podcast on iTunes. It helps more listeners find the show, which helps us keep it going. All right, back to the credits. I wrote and recorded the Music is My Life theme song, but the expert remixing comes courtesy of Lily Dickinson. Special thanks to Gabriel Reifer Cohen, Greg Fauscher, Fiona Bloom, and you. Thank you for listening. Stay inspired, listeners. Talk soon.